Hi, I'm Mark McCrindle, and with my colleague Ashley Fell, I recently wrote this book, Work Wellbeing. And it was a great analysis doing the research and finding out how important well-being in the workplace is and how Christian leaders need to be key to creating that flourishing. You know, more than a third of our waking hours in any week are spent at work. More than half of the years of our life are spent working in our organizations. And so finding well-being through our work has to be key. And yet 4 in 5 Australians say that there are blockers to them experiencing well-being in their work. When we analyse the reasons for that, 6 in 10 of the biggest well-being blockers in our work or organisations come about because of leadership or management issues. And the other 4 are pretty much to do with culture, which the leaders shape anyway. So we look in this book about leadership and the right sort of leadership that's going to create flourishing and well-being in organisations. And this outcome didn't come from a vacuum. You know, much of what I wrote was really an outpouring, a reflection of what I learned through my time in Arrow. Because the Arrow model is where you learn from practitioners in community. And that is key for observing and learning leadership. Obviously, the focus of Arrow is to deliver great outcomes around leadership. And it's relational, but it's also intentional. It's a leadership model that's empowering, but it's also enlarging. It's collaborative, but it's also transformative in its approach. And that is what I wrote about in the book. So it came through much of my Arrow experience. And for those of you considering journeying in Arrow, I'd encourage you to do so because you'll learn so much about your own leadership and your organizations and develop through that. And finally, I'd say that, many courses or projects that you participate in, as time goes on, their impacts diminish because there's a lot more experience in your life. But I've found with Arrow, its impacts have actually grown as I've reflected more and more on what I learned and as I've journeyed with many of my peers and the practitioners that I connected with through Arrow. So look into it. You'll be blessed through it, and I highly endorse Arrow as something to participate in.